The forgotten truth about healing. What if I told you that most of what makes us sick today isn't even visible to a microscope? Doctors estimate that nearly 85% of modern illnesses are rooted in stress, emotional suppression, and lifestyle imbalance, things that no prescription can fully touch. And yet, we keep searching for answers in pills, in procedures, in one more specialist visit. But let me ask you something. Why is it that monks living in remote Himalayan villages, with no hospitals or supplements, often live vibrant, pain-free lives well into their 90s? While people in modern cities, surrounded by every medical advancement, still feel exhausted, inflamed, and disconnected. Here's a truth that's easy to forget in a world addicted to doing. Healing doesn't begin with action. It begins with remembrance. Not remembering facts, but remembering the quiet, natural wisdom already living inside your body. Thousands of years ago, long before we had CT scans or lab reports, Buddhist teachings offered a stunningly simple insight. The body heals, not when it's forced, but when the mind becomes still. Just pause and feel that for a moment. Because you might be trying so hard to fix everything, your sleep, your skin, your stomach, without realizing that your body isn't waiting for one more supplement. It's waiting for you to listen. This isn't anti-science, it's inner science, the kind that's been passed down in silent temples, in morning meditations, in the gentle breath of those who learn to be present instead of panicked. You see, healing is not something you buy. It's something you uncover, layer by layer, the moment you stop rushing and start remembering. So today, I invite you to slow down, to not just treat your symptoms, but to reconnect with the healer within. Because what if the most powerful medicine isn't out there in a bottle, but already inside you, quietly waiting to be remembered? Let's begin. Part 1. Your body doesn't need fixing. It needs to be heard. Let me ask you something simple, yet often ignored. When was the last time you truly listened to your body? Not to fix it, but to understand it. We live in a culture obsessed with solutions. Got a headache? Take a pill. Feeling tired? Grab some caffeine. Digestive issues? Switch your diet again. But have we ever paused to ask, why? Why does your back seize up right after an argument with someone you love? Why does your stomach twist before a difficult conversation? What if these symptoms aren't malfunctions, but messages? Here's a radical truth. Your body isn't broken. It's communicating. It's not fighting you. It's fighting for you. I want to share something personal. For nearly 4 years, I carried a strange, heavy pressure in my chest. It wasn't pain exactly, just a weight I couldn't explain. I saw doctors. I adjusted my diet. I tried supplements. Every test came back normal, but nothing felt normal. Then one quiet evening, I sat down, not to fix, not to solve, just to be. No distractions, no goals, just my breath and stillness. And from that silence, something rose. A memory I hadn't touched in decades. The passing of my father. Grief I had never fully faced. Unspoken words I had buried too deep. I didn't have a dramatic breakdown. I simply cried. A quiet, gentle release. The next morning, the pressure was still there, but softer, lighter. It had been heard. And that was enough to begin healing. So many of us treat our bodies like battlegrounds. We suppress pain, override fatigue, silence emotions. But healing begins not with force, but with listening. Science now shows us this too. Emotions influence inflammation, digestion, heart rate. Your body is constantly mirroring your inner world. What you won't feel, it will carry. So instead of asking, how do I make this go away? Try asking, what are you trying to tell me? Tonight, I invite you to place your hand on your chest. Close your eyes. Say gently, I hear you. And just breathe. Not to fix, but to begin. Because your body isn't your enemy. It's your most loyal friend, waiting to be heard. Part 2. Science now confirms what the Buddha taught. For thousands of years, Buddhist teachings have told us, suffering doesn't always begin in the body. It begins in the mind. But today, science is finally catching up. According to a study from Harvard, over 90% of all doctor visits are related to stress. Think about that. It's not always bacteria or genes making us sick. It's our thoughts, our emotions, our inability to pause and process. You see, stress isn't just in your head. It changes your brain chemistry, tightens your muscles, weakens your immune system, and inflames your gut. Every worry you carry, every unspoken word, every "I'm fine" when you're not, your body remembers. Let's be honest. How many of us grew up believing that emotions should be hidden, that sadness is weakness, that anger is dangerous? So we smile, we stay strong, we keep going. But here's the truth. What the mind hides, the body reveals. Chronic back pain? It might not be posture, it could be pressure. Anxiety that won't go away? Maybe it's grief that never had a voice. Sleepless nights? Could it be shame whispering just beneath the surface? I once spoke with a woman who had battled chronic fatigue for years. She had tried every diet, every supplement, every treatment. Nothing worked, until she sat with a therapist and allowed herself to feel the guilt of a childhood secret. Within weeks, her energy began returning, not because she fixed her body, but because she finally listened. The Buddha said, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional." Modern science agrees. Emotional suppression is one of the leading causes of inflammation and autoimmune disorders. So what if your symptoms aren't punishments, but requests? What if your body isn't breaking down, but speaking up? Imagine this, your body as a loyal friend, one who has been patiently whispering, "Please slow down. Please feel this. Please stop pretending." It doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be present. Tonight, instead of numbing the ache or pushing through the tension, try something different. Sit still, place your hand on your belly, and ask, "What emotion have I been holding here?" You might be surprised at what answers. And that, right there, could be the moment your healing truly begins. Part 3. Your thoughts shape your healing. Here's something most people never hear from a doctor. Your thoughts shape your biology. Not just metaphorically, literally. The way you speak to yourself matters. The beliefs you repeat quietly in your mind become instructions your body tries to follow. Have you ever noticed this? When you think "I'm falling apart," you feel more tired. When you say "this pain will never go away," it seems to get louder. But the moment, even just for a second, you whisper, "Maybe I'm healing," something inside softens. It's subtle, but it's real. Because your cells are listening. Modern science backs this up. Studies in psychoneuroimmunology, yes, that's a real field, show that our immune system responds to emotional tone. Fearful thoughts increase cortisol, shrink brain function, and weaken repair mechanisms. But hopeful, kind, trusting thoughts activate healing pathways down to the genetic level. Let me share a moment from my own life. There was a time when I woke up every day with a dull ache in my lower back. Doctors said it was age-related. But honestly, what made it worse wasn't the pain. It was the story I told myself. I'm getting old. I'll never feel strong again. One morning, while brushing my teeth, I looked in the mirror and said out loud, "What if I'm not breaking down? What if I'm rebuilding?" It felt silly. But over the weeks, I kept saying it. And with that shift in belief, I began treating myself differently. Gentler stretches, longer walks, more rest. And yes, less pain. It's not magic. It's alignment between what you think, what you believe, and how your body responds. Imagine your body like an old, wise tree. You don't fix a tree by yelling at it or pulling on its branches. You care for its roots. You give it sunlight, space, patience. You don't have to force yourself to bloom. You just have to create the conditions where healing is allowed. So, what's one belief you've been repeating that might be holding your body back? And more importantly, what new belief are you ready to grow into? Try this tonight. Before bed, close your eyes and say, I am healing, I am learning, I am listening. Let that be your mantra. Because healing doesn't start with doing. It starts with believing something better is possible. Part 4. Aging is not withering, it's ripening. We often think of aging as a slow decline. More wrinkles, more aches, more things we used to do but now can't. But what if that belief is the very thing making us feel old? Let me ask you, have you ever wondered why children bounce back so quickly from a fall, but adults take days, even weeks, to recover from something far less? It's not always the body that slows down. Sometimes, it's the story we tell about the body. Here's what science says. A study from Yale University found that people with positive beliefs about aging live an average of 7.5 years longer. Let that sink in, longer than the benefits of quitting smoking, eating vegetables, or exercising. In other words, how you think about aging literally shapes how you age. I once met a woman at a retreat, 78 years old. She had arthritis in her hands and needed a cane to walk, but there was something radiant about her. She smiled like the world hadn't worn her down. I asked her the secret. She said, I stopped believing I was old. I just started saying thank you every time I woke up breathing. That wasn't denial. That was wisdom. Because she understood something most of us forget. The body may age, but the soul ripens. Think of a fruit. When it's young, it's firm, shiny, maybe a little sour. But when it ripens, it softens, deepens, sweetens. It becomes nourishing. What if growing older isn't about losing something, but becoming something more? In Buddhist thought, impermanence is not something to fear, it's something to honor. The falling leaves in autumn don't mean the tree is dying. They mean it's preparing for rest, for renewal. But here's where suffering creeps in. Not from age itself, but from resisting it. I shouldn't feel this tired. I used to be so much stronger. I look so old. These inner scripts don't just sap your joy, they alter your biology, because your body believes what you keep repeating. So what if instead you whispered, I am not fading, I'm unfolding. I am becoming more of who I truly am. Tonight, ask yourself, what belief about aging am I ready to let go? And what new truth am I ready to grow into? Because aging is not the end. It's a sacred ripening, if you choose to see it that way. Part 5. The weight of unspoken emotions. Have you ever noticed how your body holds stories you never said out loud? Anger in the tightness of your jaw. Fear sitting heavy in your stomach. Sadness lodged right behind your chest. The truth is, your body isn't just flesh and bones. It's your autobiography. Every unspoken goodbye, every swallowed scream, every I'm fine when you weren't. And like any story left unread for too long, it starts to press against the edges, asking, sometimes begging, to be acknowledged. I once guided a woman through her first silent meditation retreat. She was in her early 60s, strong, composed, on the outside. But during a walking meditation, she broke down in tears. When I gently asked what had surfaced, she said, I just realized I never got to grieve my mother. I was too busy taking care of everyone else. That moment didn't break her. It began to free her. Not because she cried, but because for the first time, she allowed herself to. In Zen, we don't bypass emotion in the name of peace. We bow to it. Because what you avoid emotionally your body will eventually carry physically. Modern science agrees. Studies in epigenetics, the science of how emotions affect gene expression, have shown that unprocessed trauma doesn't just impact you. It can be passed down to your children and even grandchildren. And psychologists have long known this. Suppressed emotions are linked to chronic illness, autoimmune disease, and heart conditions. But here's the hope. Healing isn't about reliving the pain. It's about releasing it. Simple tools like expressive writing, somatic meditation, and talk therapy aren't just feel-good trends. They lower cortisol, balance your nervous system, and boost immune function. They give your body back its voice. So tonight, instead of pushing it all down, try sitting quietly with your body. Place your hand on the part that aches the most and ask, what emotion have I been holding here? You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to make space for the truth to rise, because your body is not betraying you. It's remembering for you, until you're ready to remember too. And maybe that moment, that quiet breath, is the beginning of release. Part 6. The healing power of presence. What if the medicine you've been searching for isn't hidden in a supplement, a new routine, or a better plan, but right here, in this exact moment? We live in a world obsessed with the future. What's next? What else can I do? How do I fix this? But here's a quiet truth most people overlook. You don't need more time. You need more presence in the time you already have. A Harvard study found that people spend 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're doing. Almost half of our life spent somewhere else. And the more distracted we are, the more unhappy we become. Have you ever been doing something as simple as washing dishes, but your mind is replaying a mistake from last week, or worrying about something that hasn't even happened? Meanwhile, this moment, the only moment that's actually real, passes by unnoticed. I remember a day when I had nothing on my schedule. No meetings, no deadlines, no lists. So I sat outside, under a tree I had planted years before. No music, no meditation app, just me and the wind. And after a while, I realized something strange. My jaw wasn't clenched. For the first time in weeks, my body had relaxed. Without effort, without force. Because I wasn't chasing the next thing. I was just there. Here's the metaphor I love. Think of your mind like a snow globe. When you shake it, everything swirls. Thoughts, fears, doubts. But when you stop shaking, clarity returns. Stillness reveals what was always there. You don't need a retreat in the mountains to find peace. You just need to show up for your life as it's unfolding. You can breathe with presence while brushing your teeth. You can feel the warmth of water as you do the dishes. You can walk barefoot in your backyard and simply feel. So tonight, try this. Set a 3-minute timer. Sit down. Close your eyes. With each inhale, say silently, "Now is safe." With each exhale, "Now is enough." That's not just mindfulness. That's medicine. Because healing doesn't happen in some distant future. It happens here, and here is always waiting. Part 7. The body responds to meaning, not just medicine. Have you ever met someone who looked frail on the outside, but carried a light in their eyes that felt stronger than age? I once met a man like that. He was 92 years old, a retired monk. His hands shook when he held his teacup, and his walk was slow. But every morning, every single morning, he still taught meditation at sunrise. When I asked him why, he smiled and said, "Because teaching is the reason my legs still move." That wasn't just poetic. That was purpose. And purpose, it turns out, might be the most powerful medicine of all. You see, people don't just die from illness. They die from hopelessness, from feeling unseen, unnecessary. like life no longer needs them. But the moment we reconnect with meaning, even something small, the body responds. Scientific studies confirm this. One from Rush University found that seniors with a strong sense of life purpose were 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's. Another, published in JAMA, showed that people with clear meaning in life had lower mortality rates and fewer chronic illnesses. Think about that. Purpose heals in ways medicine can't. And no, purpose doesn't mean you have to start a nonprofit or write a book at 70. It can be gentle. It can be deeply personal. Purpose might be planting a garden, teaching your granddaughter how to make soup, calling a friend who needs you, or simply waking up and saying, "Thank you, I'm still here." In Buddhism, this is known as right livelihood, not just what you do for work, but how aligned your actions are with your soul. When your outer life matches your inner truth, peace follows. And where peace flows, healing follows too. So tonight, I invite you to pause and ask, what still brings me alive? What is life still asking me to give? Even if the answer is soft, small, or hidden, listen for it. Because your body is listening too. And sometimes all it takes is one reason to wake up that reminds every cell inside you, we're not done yet. You don't need more time. You need a reason to be here. And that reason might just be the start of your healing. Part 8, Forgiveness, the hidden door to healing. There's a weight many people carry for years, and they don't even realize it's the reason they feel tired, anxious, or stuck. It's not just the pain of what happened, it's the grip we still have on the past. And more than anything, it's the story we keep repeating to ourselves about who hurt us and how we can't let it go. But what if the key to your healing isn't in holding tighter, but in letting go? Now, let me be clear. Forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay. It's not about excusing the person who hurt you. It's about this: choosing to stop letting pain have the final word in your life. I once met a man who had carried resentment toward his father for over 40 years. They hadn't spoken in decades. His chest always felt tight. He struggled with sleep. No therapy or medication seemed to help. Until one day, he did something simple. He sat down and wrote his father a letter. He never sent it, but he poured everything out: anger, grief, love, confusion. And when he finished, he burned the letter in a quiet backyard ceremony. That night, he slept. For the first time in years. Not because the past had changed, but because he had released himself from it. Science backs this up. According to the Institute of Psychosomatic Medicine, people who practice forgiveness have more stable blood pressure, healthier heart rhythms, and significantly lower risk of cardiovascular disease. Why? Because holding on to anger is exhausting. It keeps your nervous system in survival mode, and your body can't heal when it's bracing for battle. So let me ask you, is there someone you haven't forgiven? Maybe it's not someone else. Maybe it's you. Tonight, here's a simple but powerful healing ritual. Write a letter, not to send, but to free. To the person, the version of you, the moment that still echoes. Say everything. Be honest. Be raw. Then burn it. Let the smoke carry what your heart no longer needs to hold. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's remembering, without the sting. And when you release the grip of the past, you make space for peace to land, right here in the present. Part 9, Touching the Sacred, when healing becomes a living ritual. What if healing wasn't just something you do, but something you live, intentionally, moment by moment? You see, most of us think of healing as a destination, something to reach when we're finally free of pain. But what if healing isn't about arriving? What if it's about how you choose to walk every step? In Buddhism, even the simplest actions, pouring tea, folding laundry, taking a breath, can become sacred when done with full presence. It's not about the action itself, it's about how you show up for it. I once met a woman in Kyoto who taught me this without saying a word. Every morning she would make tea using the old traditional method. Each movement was deliberate, warming the kettle, measuring the leaves, pouring the water, waiting. No rush, no distraction, just grace in motion. She told me it became her anchor after losing her husband, not because it fixed her grief, but because it gave her a place to bring her heart back home, one breath at a time. She wasn't healing to survive. She was healing to feel deeply alive again. That's the shift. When healing becomes a ritual, you're no longer just trying to escape pain, you're learning to live with reverence. And here's something powerful to consider. Your body is a temple, not a machine to be optimized, not a project to be fixed, but a sacred home to be honored. The universe listens to how you treat yourself. If you rush through every day, ignoring your needs, criticizing your reflection, the world will reflect that same energy back. But when you begin to care for yourself like something holy, with patience, softness, and respect, everything starts to shift. So here's a practice. Choose one small act each day, washing your face, lighting a candle, drinking water, and turn it into a ritual. Slow it down. Be fully there. Let it mean something. Because healing isn't found in the next big breakthrough. It's found in tiny sacred pauses you give yourself each day. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect. Start where you are. Make this breath meaningful. Let this cup of tea be your prayer. Let your morning stretch be your offering. Your body isn't just asking to be fixed. It's asking to be cherished. Conclusion: you're not broken. You're remembering. If there's one thing I hope you take away from everything we've shared today, it's this. You're not broken. You're remembering. Your symptoms, whether physical, emotional, or even spiritual, they're not punishments. They're messages, whispers from within, asking for your attention, not your judgment. Pain is the body's way of saying, something here matters. Please don't rush past it. Aging? It's not the end of your story. It's the soft unfolding of what's always been sacred within you. It's not decay. It's a return. A return to clarity, to depth, to what truly matters. And your emotions? They aren't weaknesses to hide. They're the gates to freedom. If you're willing to sit with them, listen, and let them move through you. So many of us wait for healing to arrive as some future event, when the truth is, healing begins now. Not when the pain disappears, but when you begin treating the present moment as medicine. Not when everything feels perfect, but when you pause, take a breath, and ask, what part of me is asking to be seen today? You don't need a 30-day plan. You don't need to be more spiritual, more disciplined, or more productive. You just need to choose this moment, this breath, this one small opening in your heart that says, I'm willing to come home to myself. Because healing doesn't demand that you become someone new. It invites you to return to who you've been all along, before the noise, before the pressure, before the pain. You don't have to chase wholeness. You only have to remember it. So as we close this journey together, I invite you to ask yourself, what if this very breath is the reset? What if this day isn't another in survival, but your first in remembrance? Right now, you're not starting over. You're starting within. And that, dear friend, is where the real healing begins. If this touched something in you, I hope you'll share it. Not for me, but for someone out there who's still trying to fix what was never broken. Let's remind them, gently, you don't need fixing. You need honoring. You don't need escape. You need presence. And maybe, just maybe, you're already more whole than you ever imagined.